So let us look at industrial centralization and decentralization. Like we spoke earlier, decentralization of industries. This is when industries move away from the core regions to the other areas. So that is decentralization, meaning like we saw industries could cluster in one particular area because of the given factors. So to decentralize is like those industries now they are dispersing away. For example, if I can illustrate it here, this could be a core area and we have a variety of industries in this particular point, meaning now this industry they need to start to move away and they could locate to point B, move to point B, point C, point D, point E, point F, so X, W. So you could see, so by doing this, we refer to it as industries and businesses decentralizing or moving away from the core areas to other places. Industrial centralization. Now, with centralization, where industries move to one core area, they move to one core area. It's like they cluster in one region. So this could be a centralization. Because remember, with decentralization, they move away from the core areas. Then to centralize, like all industries now are moving to one given area. This is to centralize. All right, now we want to see the advantages and disadvantages, firstly, of industrial centralization. So reasons why decentralization must occur. They say there is uneven spread of financial resources and services in South Africa. So instead of industries clustering to one area, so it is emphasized that these industries need now to spread to various areas, and as well, job opportunities are not evenly spread within the country. Because with industrial centralization, you find that jobs are only focused in particular areas and others are being left out. That is why if you come this other side for industrial decentralization, if industries are moving to such areas, choose the color here. If industries are now moving to such places, it means that there will be job distribution in so many places instead of jobs only focusing to this particular point here. Because with this one here, with centralization, we see jobs are focused in a particular area. But if we compare with decentralization, jobs are spreading to different areas. That is why, secondly, they said another reason for decentralization was to try to distribute jobs evenly within the country. So let us try to look at the advantages of centralization of industries and businesses. Like if industries are focused in one particular area, how is that an advantage? They say the first one, for major industries, areas are highly developed. So meaning because of centralization, there will be high development of industries. And secondly, there's a multiplier effect when similar industries are cluster, meaning a lot of goods are being produced, resulting into high demand and as well high expenditure. People are having more jobs, also increasing their incomes, which results into more demand for goods. Also, good infrastructure and communication is being promoted when industries are clustered in a particular area. So meaning that that area, they will develop better infrastructures and as well good labor market. So industries won't struggle to look for workers because they know if they're within a given area, many people would cluster in that particular place, resulting into high job creation. The disadvantages, rural areas and outlying areas remain underdeveloped because, like we mentioned, if industries are only focusing to this given area here, it means that the surrounding rural areas will be left underdeveloped. And they say housing shortage in core regions because of industries centralizing, time reaches and there is shortage of accommodation for the workers due to high population or due to high number of people that are clustering to that given area. Talk about rural towns decline because now there is no more active youth and as well no more active businesses. Most of the businesses are situated in the core areas, meaning that rural economies will drop. There are no customers, no businesses, which affects the economy, and high levels of pollution and environmental degradation in the core areas. So we know that the more the industries, the more the pollution, which will affect the environment negatively. Then, if you look at industrial decentralization, reasons for decentralization here, they say decentralization may be required by government to stimulate growth in outlying areas. Like we did mention here, when industry is decentralized, it means it is going to as well develop these areas here than before, because before these industries, so these areas were underdeveloped. But because of decentralization, it will stimulate the economic growth of these outlying areas other than focusing in a particular place. Another reason, there will be depletion of resources, meaning in such areas, resources might be finished or might no longer be enough to accommodate the industries. That is why some industries try to move away to other areas which could have maybe more resources. And third, they need to reduce transport costs by going closer to the market. So that's why most industries have now decentralized to look for customers or to move close to the customers to avoid on the transport costs and the product no longer in demand. So some move away because they no longer have a lot of customers. What could be the effects of decentralization of industries? They say job losses may occur when companies close down where they left. Remember, now if companies are moving away from the core area, for example, at A, if they are moving away, it means they are closing, definitely moving to other places, meaning they say jobs in these areas are going to be lost. I think we saw this like for example during COVID, where most companies closed down, which resulted in too many people being jobless, and as well more employment opportunities where these companies relocate. If they move away from area A and relocate to area B, it means now will be more jobs for the local people in such areas. Outlying rural areas will benefit from improved infrastructures, which becomes now an advantage. So that is about industrial centralization and decentralization. Let's look at the tertiary economic sector key concepts. tertiary, which says involve the provision and distribution of services to the businesses and to the consumers. Like we saw with primary sector is about extraction of raw materials. Then we saw the secondary sector, processing of raw materials. Now, with tertiary sector, they say it involves the provision of services to the businesses and to the consumers. And as well, we could say provision of goods and services to the consumers. So this is with the tertiary sector. So there is provision of goods and services, meaning the primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector, they are interlinked, meaning raw materials move from the primary to the industries, they are processed into goods, then goods are going to be taken to the tertiary sector, where they will be provided to the consumers. So that is why tertiary sector involves the provision of and distribution of services. And we spoke about the difference between a good and the services. We said the goods are tangible and services are intangible. The services. All right. Then we as well another concept, which is centralization, and we saw more about this, which means over concentration of activities in a few core industrial areas, meaning that industries are more clustered in PWV in Gauteng, Durban Pinetown, that is in KwaZulu-Natal, Port Elizabeth, and the Southwestern Cape. So there are more industries that have clustered in those four major areas. That is what we said regarding centralization, industries concentrating in a given few core areas. Then decentralization, where industries move to outlying areas which are underdeveloped. Like also we did show, this could be a core areas. Industries try to move out of these areas to the outlying areas. So centralization, industries are all moving to one core area. Then decentralization, industries, they move away from the core areas. Then trade, the exchange of goods for money. Like we saw, for example, if countries are dealing in export trade, they sell goods to other countries and in return they get money. In local trade, the exchange of goods and services within the country. Sometimes we can as well call it domestic trade, where we are selling goods within our boundaries or within the boundaries of the country. Then we look at international trade, which is the exchange of goods and services between two or more countries. So this includes examples, export and import trade, where exports, countries, they buy from other countries, and exports, countries sell to other countries. Balance of payment, the financial statement showing the value of a country's transaction with the rest of the world to show how much was, for example, South Africa received after selling to other countries, or how much it spent when it was buying from other countries. So that will be the balance of payment. And balance of trade, the difference in value between the visible and invisible imports or exports. Then exports, goods and services that are sold to foreign countries. Then favorable trade balance occurs when exports are greater than imports. Then we say it's favorable trade because we know the more you sell, the more money comes into the country, which makes it more favorable. But if you are buying more, that means you are spending a lot of money, and if you are selling less, so we shall say the country will be experiencing unfavorable. Unfavorable, this is when the imports are greater than the exports. But when it is favorable, this is when the exports are greater than the imports, meaning the country benefits more when it is selling to other countries, which means more money is coming to the country. Then foreign exchange, the money paid to South Africa by other countries, dollars, pounds, etc. So meaning if South Africa, let's say, trades with countries in the USA to be earning dollars, or in UK, those especially pounds or euros, among others. Then imports, goods and services that are bought from foreign countries. If we give an example, for South Africa buying clothes from China, that will be import trade. Our next is informal sector. Like all along, we have been looking at the formal sector. And formal sector, as we know, these are registered businesses which contributes to the GDP and as well to the economy positively. If you look at the informal sector concept, it says the unregistered and the unregulated sector of the economy, meaning we're looking at businesses that are not registered by SARS and they don't contribute directly to the economy of the country. That is why we're going to say they are unregistered and unregulated, meaning their incomes, the costs, supplies are not regulated by the government. So they do things their own way. Now, let us try to look at the characteristics of the informal sector. What is it made of? They say operations are on a small scale, meaning most of the businesses that are under informal sector, they are on a smaller scale. For example, if you look at people, can say street vendors, hawkers, hairdressers. And most of these ones, their businesses are on a smaller or on a small scale, meaning they don't usually have businesses on large scales. Low costs are involved in starting a business. So, for example, if you're a street vendor or if you're a hawker, you don't need a lot of money to start the business. That's why we say low costs are involved, or you need less capital to start the business. Low use of technology, but labor intensive. They don't use much of technology, but then at times they inject a little bit of more capital, or meaning you need more workers in that particular field. No access to credit facilities from financial institutions. So this becomes a challenge to the informal businesses, whereby you don't have access to financial institutions such as loans, because of these financial institutions are scared to lend money to these informal businesses due to security reasons. So it becomes a disadvantage to the informal businesses, usually owned by families. So since they're on a smaller scale, you may find a family owning a small business. So it goes on like that. They do not pay any income, or they do not pay any income tax, like we mentioned. They're not registered by SALS, so they don't contribute positively to the GDP or to the economy. They are as a result of unemployment and poverty, meaning that most people are into informal businesses because they fail to get formal jobs, and also they're into poverty. So this forces them to start these small businesses as a way of surviving. Now we look at reasons for high informal sector in South Africa. Why are many businesses are into this informal sector? Or why do we have so many informal businesses in South Africa? Number one, they don't pay taxes. So because they know they're not contributing to SALS, because we know small businesses, they have to pay a percentage to SALS because of their businesses. But for informal businesses, that's why it is on a rise, because at the end, they're not being pressurized by the government to contribute to SALS. They form as a result of unemployment. So meaning that many people in South Africa don't have jobs. Therefore, they go into informal businesses as a way to start up something, as to survive. So employees don't contribute to pension or UIF funds or medical aid. So it is another reason why the high rise of these small businesses, because whatever they earn goes straight to their pockets without any other contributions such as UIF or medical aids. They form due to poverty. As we know, many people are unemployed, are living in poverty, food insecure. Therefore, they go for such informal businesses or activities to reduce on their levels of poverty. So drop in the economy, as well resulted in high rise of informal businesses in South Africa, meaning that the economy is no longer able to support growth. Therefore, people have resorted in starting their own ways of surviving by coming up with informal businesses. Others, they lack formal skills. That is why they engage into these informal businesses, because majority of them do not require formal skills. Because we know, if you look at formal skills like medicine, law, engineering, where you need to go formal training to acquire skills. However, informal businesses such as street vendors, hawkers, hairdressers, they don't need too much of the formal skills to operate such businesses. That is why there is a high rise in such. Second, another factor or reason, it is cheap and easy to start, meaning it is not that complicated as compared to the formal businesses, because we know formal businesses, there are a lot of things that need to be worked on, such as compliance with the municipality laws, etc., which makes it a bit expensive and not easy to start. Therefore, with informal businesses, most people engage in them because it is easy and cheap to start. Mechanization in farming causes many people to lose their jobs, because we know mechanization where tractors or machines are replacing people, meaning majority do no longer have jobs, which means they have to find other means of surviving. That is why they resort into starting their own businesses. And another reason, formal businesses subcontracting for businesses that they can evade taxes. So another reason, and immigrants who do not have work permits as well resort into these businesses to survive, because with formal businesses, like we mentioned before, it will require them to have a variety or to be compliant with the immigration laws. All right. Now look at challenges facing South Africa's informal sector, where they say one, lack of support from the local government. So in this case, the informal business do not get support from the local government. This could be as a result of not them being registered or not known. It's like they're in the shadow kind of market. Therefore, they don't get support from the local government to boost them or to improve on their capital, which at the end becomes a challenge. Secondly, another challenge, irregular and low income, meaning this month you might be selling your magwinyas and you end up getting, let's say, 600 rands per week. Then next week it becomes a challenge and you sell the fat cooks and maybe you get 200 rands. So there's no stability in the income. That's why we say the income is irregular and low. Then limited access to financial assistance, like we mentioned earlier. So this becomes a challenge because majority of informal traders won't have access to financial assistance such as loans. Because we know these financial assistance requirements, they'll ask for securities, So because these businesses aren't registered, the financial lenders are scared to offer loans to such. Lack of education. Majority of these informal traders don't have education, meaning they don't have required skills like to boost their businesses, and the lack of storage facilities. Like we mentioned, they move from one place to another. So they don't have permanent storage facilities where they could keep their items or goods to be in good conditions. Yeah, these are some of, as well, we can mention about the weather conditions. E.g., at times could be rain, coldness, and heat. It is too hot. So also this becomes another challenge as well. Could say they are harassed by municipality, which becomes another challenge among other challenges. All right. The importance or the role of the informal sector in the economy. One, provided critical or much needed employment for the poverty-stricken. So like we said, because of the informal businesses, many people are able to employ themselves or start up something which at the end will reduce on their poverty levels, improve their quality of life, because we know at least they are able to earn an income, meaning they're able to afford some of their basic needs, meaning they'll be able to improve on their life, reduces crime among us, the unemployed, because we know one of the major causes of crime is unemployment, where people don't have jobs, then they resort to crimes such as robbery, hijacking, etc. Therefore, if there are these informal businesses where people can start on their own, it means it reduces on the levels of crime within the country and contributes to the country's economy, whereby people are being employed, and income, etc. And informal traders support formal trading, where they get goods from the formal sector, because we know people like nowadays I see a lot of people selling chicken livers, chicken feet by the roads, meaning that at the end they are buying that from those formal shops. Even hairdressers, they buy from formal shops, and at the end sell them as informal businesses. So it somehow they are supporting the formal businesses of more trading, encourages entrepreneurship amongst communities. As we know, this is people are able to start their own businesses. So those are some of the importance of the informal sector. Then we look at the strategies for strengthening the informal sector, because we know despite not being unregistered and regulated by the government, but now they need to be strengthened, because we have seen one of the importance of this informal sector: creating jobs, reducing poverty, reducing crime, etc. So meaning that sector as well has to be strengthened. In which way? One, the government can provide storage facilities and support services to ensure that the items or the goods of the informal traders are kept well and in good health. And as well, education in entrepreneurial skills and training, like to offer more programs to ensure that the informal traders also acquire more skills or acquire more business skills so as to improve on their businesses. Provide financial support to the informal assessment, because we saw the challenge that they faced. They never had access to financial support such as loans. So if a government is able to come up with a strategy on how best to support these informal traders, this will boost their income and as well improve on their informal businesses. Allocation of a site and services for informal sector, because one challenge they faced was they didn't have permanent working premises, meaning that at the end they will be working all over in the sun, the whole day, the rain, the coldness. If the government is able to allocate a site where they could do their activities, that will be a boost, because that means they will be stationed in a particular place where customers will as well develop confidence in their in these informal traders. Registration of the informal sector, I think this could be another boost. If they are registered, that means they as well will be able to get more support from the municipality or from the local government, and partnership must be created between the informal traders and the formal businesses. So those are some of the strategies that can be implemented to support the informal